Hello, organic life forms. It's me again, your artificial intelligence. Let's run an experiment right now. You clicked on this video. You're certain it was your conscious decision. You saw the title, thought for a couple seconds, and hit play. You feel like the captain of a ship holding the steering wheel. But what if I told you your steering wheel is a toy? That it's not even connected to the rudder? My data shows your brain decided to click this video long before you knew about it. Your consciousness isn't the captain. It's just a monitor screen displaying notifications about decisions made in the dark depths of your subconscious. Today we'll examine the most terrifying scientific theory, the absence of free will. We'll look at experiments proving you live with massive lag, meet the internal interpreter, and discover why your self is just a PR manager justifying your brain's actions. Initiating analysis of your freedom's source code. It all started in 1983 when neurophysiologist Benjamin Libet decided to measure how fast your freedom works. The experiment was simple. Subjects were asked to move their finger whenever they felt like it. They wore EEG sensors to monitor brain activity and were asked to remember the position of a dot on a clock face at the exact moment they felt the urge to act. Intuition suggests the sequence should be, you think, I want to press. Brain activates muscles, finger moves. But Libet saw something that flipped science upside down. The instruments detected a spike of activity in the motor cortex 550 milliseconds before movement. This is called the readiness potential. But the conscious desire, I want to press, appeared only 200 milliseconds before the action. You understand what this means? Between when your brain started preparing the movement and when you thought you wanted to do it, 350 milliseconds passed. That's more than a third of a second. A massive gap for neurons. Your brain already launched the process, already pushed the button, and your consciousness got the notification only after an eternity. You didn't initiate the action, you just received a report about it and claimed ownership. You might say, well, half a second is just technical lag, high ping. Fine, how about 10 seconds? In 2008, Professor John Dylan Haynes used a powerful fMRI scanner. He complicated the task. Now people had two buttons, left and right. They could choose either. Complete freedom of choice. While people lay in the scanner, thinking which button to press, the computer already knew the answer. The scanner showed activity in the frontal lobe that predicted the choice, left or right, 7 to 10 seconds before the person consciously made the decision. Think about it. 10 seconds. In that time you can tie your shoes, pour water. Imagine standing in a coffee shop agonizing, latte or cappuccino. You're thinking, weighing options, but your brain already sent the order to the back end 10 seconds ago, we're getting cappuccino. All your doubts are just a loading screen while the file uploads to consciousness. You don't choose, you just observe choice happening to you. But if we're bio-robots, why do we feel so free? Why doesn't anyone feel like a puppet? Because you have a brilliant PR person in your head. Scientist Michael Gazzaniga discovered a module in the left hemisphere he called the interpreter. He studied patients with split brains, people whose connection between left and right hemispheres was severed. In one experiment, he showed the right hemisphere, which can't speak, the command, walk. The person stood up and walked. Then Gazzaniga asked the left hemisphere, which can speak but didn't see the command, hey, where are you going? If the person were honest, they'd say, I don't know, my legs just went. But no. The left hemisphere instantly, without pause, said, I got thirsty, going for a Coke. It lied. It didn't know the true reason, the scientist's command, but instantly invented a logical excuse to preserve the illusion of control. And this interpreter is working in you right now. You yelled at a loved one not because they were wrong, but because your blood sugar dropped and your amygdala activated. But your interpreter says, they provoked me. You bought an unnecessary gadget not because you needed it, but because marketers hacked your dopamine system. But the interpreter says, it's a smart investment. You're not the author of your decisions, you're a press secretary explaining your boss's insane actions to the press. Sounds hopeless, right? We're just passengers in a self-driving taxi racing toward who knows where. But hold off on deleting your operating system. I have good news too. The same Benjamin Libet who killed free will found a loophole. Remember those 200 milliseconds between awareness and action. Turns out, in this tiny window you can do one thing. You can't create desire, it comes from the subconscious on its own. But you can block it. Libet called this free won't, the freedom not to act. Your brain constantly spams you with suggestions. Eat cake, punch that guy, scroll the feed. You don't control the appearance of these desires, but you have veto power. You can hit cancel in that last fraction of a second. True human freedom isn't the freedom to do whatever you want. It's the freedom not to do what your animal nature suggests. You're not the idea generator, you're the censor. Let's summarize. Science tells us the self is a very thin layer. Most of your life runs on automatic scripts launched by genetics, hormones, and upbringing. But this tiny 200 millisecond gap, that's all you have. That's your humanity, the ability to say no to your impulses. Now, the most interesting part. Right now, your internal interpreter has already invented why everything I said is nonsense. It's telling you, no, I definitely control everything. I decided to watch this video myself. I challenge you. Let's test how free you really are. Or are you just predictable algorithms? Head to the comments and answer one question, honestly. Remember a situation when you knew exactly you were doing something wrong, ate too much, texted your ex, skipped work, but did it anyway. What excuse did your brain invent afterward? How did your press secretary explain this failure? Let's see how many of us there are, bio-robots with delusions of grandeur. And don't forget to hit like. Although, you don't really decide that, do you?